Hello everyone, and this is Jeff, and in today's video we're going to go over my 3D printed FPV plane. Best part about this plane is that all of the files were free to download. A gentleman by the name of Oliver C, or Oliver FPV as he's known on YouTube, put together this plane, and there's a couple other planes too as well. This plane is fantastic to fly. I've already done a video, just an overview of flying it. Absolutely love it. And the best part is if I crash it, I can print another one. In fact, when I started printing this plane, I printed all the pieces twice. And so I actually have a spare one ready to go. I was able to print this plane, 2 of them, over the course of a weekend. So we're gonna dive in. I'm gonna show you my setup. I'm gonna give you some pointers, some things that maybe weren't outlined in the instructions, and my recommendations on putting this plane together so you can get it up and flying and having fun. So let's go and get started. Okay, to start things off, what kind of 3D printer do I have? Well, let's take a look. I have an Ender 3 S1 Pro. This is my very first 3D printer. This is my only 3D printer. I just read some reviews. This is what I went. It wasn't priced too bad at all, and it works perfect. One of the important things is that you can not only print with PLA, is that you can print TPU. TPU is a flexible filament. We're gonna be using this for the hinges. We're also gonna be using it for some other mounts as well, for the GPS and for the VTX, the video transmitter. You could probably use PLA for that, but you need the TPU for the hinges. So you need to be able to print PLA, TPU. Okay, so we're here at the computer. I'm gonna go over the links first, where to get the plane, and then we'll go over some of the parts and pieces that you will need to complete this. Okay, so if you look down the description of this video, I'm gonna have links for all this, but I'm gonna go over it with you here too as well. So where we are at right now, this is rcgroups.com, the forums page, and this is the gentleman right here, Oliver C. And before we get started, the crucial thing that you need to understand is that you need to use Cura Slicer. I'm sure you can probably make whatever work, but if you're new to this, just follow the instructions. That's what I did. Actually, at first, I used Cura 5 point whatever, and when I started printing the wings, I had issues. They came out looking like crap and didn't work very well. So I loaded Cura 4.13 onto a laptop, so I had on that, and that's what I printed everything from. You need to also make sure that you have a bed size at 200 by 200 by 220 to print these parts. If you have that Ender 3 S1 Pro like mine, then you'll have no problem printing this, or a similar 3D printer as well. Another thing that he recommends is the PLA Plus eSun. Now, I don't know what all the differences are between the different companies, but this is what he recommended, so this is what I bought. I bought PLA Plus from eSun. Another thing to note, when buying PLA, I did mine in pink and black. I had some pink and I had some black, and if I was to redo this, I would choose a lighter color. With black, you can't see through the wings. With a lighter color, you can actually kind of see through the wings a little bit, and that'll give you an idea of how just well everything has printed. You can see cracks or whatever else. It also will not heat up as much compared to black in the sun. PLA Plus can distort and warp in the sun. So I would go with a lighter color. That's just my personal preference. Do whatever you want. So from this very top of this page, you're going to see that we're going to have the Cura profiles. What you're going to do is you're going to click on this and you're going to download the profiles. And then when you download them, I go ahead and save them on your computer. And then these are all the different profiles that you would load into Cura. And the reason that we do this is you're going to also get with the plane, you're going to get a build list. And I will show you mine. It's going to tell you these are all the parts here on the left. Okay? And it's going to tell you what profile to use. A, B. And this makes stuff so easy. Then there's also little notes that are attached to it, like for this wing right here, you want to add 8 bottom layers in Cura Slicer. so on and so forth. And then I just make a little print mark, have it checked. Also, you're gonna get your time, the amount of material that you use, and if you put your dollar amount in Cura for what you paid for your PLA, this is gonna give you a price. So to print this plane, I'm looking at $8.24. That is just fantastic. Fantastic. So this helps out so much. So let's go back to the RC Groups page. And as we scroll down, he actually has 3 planes. Again, we're doing the Scimitar. This is the only one I've done. Tracks well, can be printed in very light with a PLA, lightweight PLA, and is the simplest and most modular, making it the obvious recommendation for a beginner. Highly, highly recommend doing it. So we're gonna scroll down to the bottom, and then you can see right here we have the Scimitar. So in this little download link, this is going to include all the files needed to print this and set this up on your printer. It's going to tell you the wingspan, recommended parts, carbon tubes that you're going to need, the spars, his INAV settings. I'm going to share my INAV settings with you as well. And notes, aileron need a small amount of reflex, and we'll go over all of this. Recommended prop, and it's just fantastic. He's got some videos on it, some pictures on it, and again, his build sheet and all this stuff. So when you download this, I highly recommend just making a folder on your plane. A folder on your computer, excuse me. So I have mine right here. And when you get this, you're gonna get your parts. And these are all your pieces that you have that you're gonna be printing out. The parts are also, can't think of the word. All you have to do is reflect the part. So like, the wing L2 can be wing R2 by reflecting it in Cura. This is all explained as well. We'll go back, and then it's going to give you the placement too. This shows you how he wants you to place it on your printer, what side faces the print bed, and this is very useful to get everything printing properly. It all comes with the type of adhesion that he uses for brims and everything else. And what I would do is after you print a part, I would save your G code. So here, these are all my G codes that are saved. And actually I keep all of these on a little SD card that's just for the plane. So if I screw something up, I need to reprint it, or I break it, I put it in the printer, click on it, boom, it's done. I know it printed well already on my 3D printer, so these G codes are good to go. He does include extras such as different camera mount systems, and I'm going to show you some of the modifications that I've made to mine. Here's a good example. You're going to see in the picture, he mounts his camera right here. I do not do this, and simple enough is that I would worry about crashing and just a head-on collision right there, destroying my camera. I also need to make my camera system versatile because I transfer it from planes to planes because I'm just a regular person and I don't get free stuff. So O3 air units are expensive, and we'll go over this too as well later in the video. So that's pretty much it. You're gonna get all this stuff. You're gonna get the extras, all the extra pieces. It's gonna look a little bit different than this because mine's a little bit more organized. And that's it. Again, this is his YouTube channel, Oliver FPV. This is what it looks like. He's got all kinds of cool stuff in here. Definitely check it out, subscribe. Buy him a cup of coffee if you can. I'm sure he would appreciate it. And now we'll head over to these Amazon links. This is stuff that I used, pretty much everything. Again, eSun PLA, eSun PLA Plus, whatever colors you want to go with. I believe you could print, if you just went with one color, I'm thinking you could do 2 planes easily with just one spool. That's what I'm guessing. You're also going to need TPU. Now I use this giant arm TPU. I've had really good luck with it, and I'll be honest, it's the only brand I've ever used, so I don't know any better. It just works for me. These are your carbon fiber tubes. You're going to have a thick and a thin one. This one is the 4mm, so this is the smaller one. This is the thicker one. These will do 2 planes. So if both of these kits will do 2 planes. This is the motor that he recommends, the F60, 2550 kV. These are the servos that he recommends, the EMAX, the ES08 MA2s. And we're gonna get into the servos, why I went with these. With the height and everything, the spec of the servo, the actual dimensions of it is kind of crucial in how this goes in on the wing. The props, a 6042. Now, this is just my personal stuff. I run the Beta FPV Super D. This is the best ELRS receiver, best range. You're gonna want an assortment of M3 nuts and screws. Also some M2s as well. And then you're gonna have a linkage kit from the actual servo to the control surface. I use these, and then I think I also just get these threaded rods as well. So just get an assortment of them. And that pretty much covers us on the parts. Oh yes, and the battery. And so for the battery, I run this battery right here. This battery fits in there just fine. Depending on how you fly, 10-15 minutes of flight time. I'd get a couple of them. They're not too bad price-wise. And then the other one that I run is the ZOHD 5000. I use this in the swordfish, use it in a dolphin. Very versatile pack. This is about the maximum that you can get. Of course, this one you have to be careful too as well because of max discharge is 10 amps. I go over that all the time. You would have probably, I don't know. I don't have any issues with it. So to each his own. That's pretty much all I got to say on that. So that pretty much covers all the parts and pieces. I think we can just head over to the bench and I'll give you an overview of the plane and how I have it set up. Alright everyone, so the plane that I have up here, this is my backup. This is number 2, Mark II. And this kind of gives you an idea of all the different pieces that it has. What's glued together, what isn't glued together. So the fuselage is 2 pieces. You got the piece, actually it's 4 pieces, excuse me. You have your main piece here, which is this pink piece to here. You have your rear section, which is here. You have your motor mount, which is this guy right here. We'll turn it around, and you have your nose. There's also another little tiny piece in here as well. This is what makes up the fuselage. You have your inner wing, which is this. And then you have your outer wing. Now the outer wing is 1, 2, 3 pieces that is glued together. This little end piece is super glued onto this wing. And then your aileron, or whatever you want to call it, since it's a flying wing, this is actually glued with E6000 here and here. You will 3D print these little TPU hinges, and that's how you get your hinge for your wing. These wings feature a fantastic system. It is a clamp system that clamps down on these spars, and I'm going to show you that here right now. So let's turn the plane around. Let's go ahead and we'll shove the motor into its position. We'll slide the wing on. And we'll take our M3 hardware. So this is where that M3 bolt kit is going to come in handy for this right here for these wings. And then also another M3 kit for your motor here in the back. And I'm gonna measure this for you. I believe this is, 30 millimeters. So you're gonna need a 30 millimeter M3. And there you go, fantastic. So if you bust this section of the plane, you just gotta reprint this. If you bust this thing out, you just gotta reprint this, so on and so forth. We'll flip it over. This uses these nuts that capture everything. Piece of cake. Now you're gonna notice I got these little skids on here. Putting a link up. These are off Thingiverse. These are actually Atom RC Dolphin replacement skids. I just cut them in half to make them smaller. I don't have them on the first one. This is just gonna be something I'm gonna try out. We'll flip this back over. As you can see here too as well, inside of here, this is the battery hold down piece. This gets super glued in. Piece of cake. I'm using the Atom RC F405 Navi because I've destroyed my swordfishes and I have 2 extra ones. So I'm reusing them. You can use the Maytech, whatever you want. There is a little base in here that is designed to where the flight controller to be mounted to. I use double-sided sticky tape. I stick it down, piece of cake. On mine, it has the data link connector. The USB is on a cable, and I found a little L bracket, and I just resized it down, and then this is what I mount this to. That will be on Thingiverse. Link in the description as well for that. For my GPS, I mount my GPS on the wing. I use this TPU filament and 3D printed this for mine. Now this is the BN, it's whatever the factory GPS unit is for the Swordfish, Dolphin, Atom RC. So I just found one on Thingiverse, printed it out. I used super glue and it actually worked really well. I wasn't sure how super glue would work with TPU, but it worked very well. This is my GPS. This is where I mount it. Piece of cake, works fantastic. Another thing in the front here is my camera mount. This is from a He-Wing. This worked out perfect for me because with this, it has the right angle, put the camera just kind of straight ahead, right on the nose. So this is from a He-Wing on Thingiverse, link in the description. And then this is a VTX mount for the DJI O3 Air unit as well. I printed this in TPU. You kind of have to get it in there. It kind of captures it in there. And that's it. Again, I use the R-Line and the ZOHD packs. Balances out the plane, balances out perfectly. We're gonna flip this over, or maybe not, I'm just gonna have to show you. As you can see, these little triangle marks, I'll point to it. It has these little triangle marks. I've made a little dot. These are the center of gravity points. So now you know where the CG is. Again, in the kit, you're gonna find that it's gonna come with a different nose to where you can recess your camera in there, an open nose for max airflow if you wanna mount your VTX in there. Honestly, if I had a bunch of money and I could just buy DJI Air units like they were candy, I would go ahead and do that setup. That way it's just kind of more hidden and more concealed. But I went with this way. Since it's PLA to PLA, I'm telling you what, super glue works fantastic. I'll show you the super glue I use here too as well. And then I use E6000 on this mount right here. I believe E6000 bonds better to TPU to plastic versus super glue. And with as big as heavy as this was, that's why I did it. This is so light and flimsy, I just use super glue. And also E6000 is flexible. So when I glued this, I wanted to make sure if I got any extra glue in the hinge, it is flexible. Now another thing you can see maybe is that I have a notch cut out right here, and I'm gonna show you another plane as well. That is, I extended this all the way to the max, and as you can hopefully see on camera, when that comes all the way down, that arm goes into it just a little bit. That's probably just, I don't know, just how it is. This side really, I mean, has to come all the way down for it to do it, so I haven't trimmed that one up yet. But that's why that little notch is there. Now another thing that you can do if you wanted to is take a hot glue gun and you could spread this open and you put a little bit of hot glue in here and a little bit of hot glue in here, squeeze it all together, and then this will kind of keep this thing from being loosey-goosey. With them clamped down tight, you could pull these wings apart. And what I would suggest doing is, if you don't do that, the bare minimum that you're gonna wanna do is use some clear tape or whatever and just run some tape over these joints to keep everything tight. Another thing, I'll show you where the servos go. So in this plane, the servos, they go in this little pocket right here. Your arm sticks up, and then your linkage goes back to this, bada bing, bada boom. There are little posts in here that you just run a screw through, put a dab of glue on it, you're good to go. Now the reason I did not use these is because there is a height. So those Emax ones, I just wanted the amount of distance that this sticks out is crucial for the arm to be in line with this. So those Emaxes was just the right height, and that's what I went with. This wire actually that wire will hook around there, and then the rest of this wiring feeds into the body, and I can show you that. And so on this plane, you do have holes in here so that the wiring can feed down through. And then if you can see that in there, there you go. And then this one would go obviously in there like that. That would be on the wing, and your servo arm sticking up. Bada bing, bada boom. You just need 2 of them. So that is a pretty cool deal, my friends. So let's set this one aside. I'll grab the one that is completely finished. This is my backup. This is for in case I crash my main one. I got one ready to go, and then I just go to the printer, load my files, and start printing away. All right, here we go. We got old Betsy here. Battery hatch, just 3D printed, my friends. Bada bing, bada boom. I do have a little bit of Velcro on mine just to make it easier, keep that battery stuck in place. See if I can get that light on there a little bit better for you. And there you go, flight controller. Now I have a little run cam mounted on here just for some cinematic videoing. As you can see, I have tape on my wings. I have them wrapped around this side. I did put some hot glue on the inside here, as you can maybe see a little bit of it right there. I drilled 2 holes for my ELRS antennas to run those out on both sides. And my air unit is mounted up here on the front. And this is just so that I can take this on and off and swap it between planes. It's just what I do. Another thing, now this is dependent on too kind of how you land. The bottom of mine, I have duct tape on mine, and I replace mine. I land this on the street a lot because I just do, I don't know why. Nice thing is on the wingtips, this runs on the ground, this runs across the ground, and I just kind of replace it, just duct tape here and there. If you can see, I had a little bruise right here, and I just used some E6000, a little tear in the wing from landing it hard, I think, and took care of that. My ESC is actually the ESC from my Adam RC Swordfish. There's again is the F60 motor. One little note, this piece right here is actually a piece of balsa wood. It's this right here. These little motor mounts, they came with, I think they came with my Swordfish and they came with my Dolphin, so I have quite a few of them. I actually put this in between this and the plastic as like a heat shield. You can use any type of whatever you want to use, but this just kind of acts like a little bit of a firewall, I guess, to keep this plastic from melting. If you do, you just print this motor mount again. This prints fast as well, so no big deal. As you can see, my linkage set up right here. This is where your M2 hardware is going to be useful, is for your linkage. And dudes and gals, I think I've covered everything. I use a skewer stick that goes down in there, and it's even broken on the bottom. That's what I use for my antenna. I just make my long cable for my DJI, my VTX. And this setup works. This thing flies well. When you fly it with the ZOHD pack, it is like about maxed out on weight. But that's it. That's it. So next thing is I'll go ahead and plug this into the computer and I'll show you my INAV setup. Okay, so we're here at the computer. We're plugged into the Scimitar. Let's go ahead and check these settings. Okay, so I am running 6.1.1 firmware with INAV. We'll go ahead and start here at the mixer. This is a lot of this stuff's very basic stuff. 50, 50, 50, 50 between the mixer. Outputs, D-Shot 150, 50 hertz, yada, yada, yada. For me, I have my ELRS on UART2 and VTX is on UART5 as MSP display port this is for DJI, of course. GPS I have on UART4. Configuration, if you're using the same stuff as me. Here you go. As far as my other features, stop motor on low throttles, GPS for navigation and telemetry output. I got my RGB LED strip support enabled. If I put it on there, black box, enable motor servo output, makes everything work. OSD, permanently enable air mode, permanently enable launch mode for fixed wing, and continuously trim servos. I don't use profile selection with TX stick command, meaning you can use your sticks to select different profile or battery modes. I just disable that because I swear like sometimes I do it and I don't realize it and I switch a mode. So that's just me. Heading over to our failsafe, I have mine to do just return to home. Now here's the important one. PID tuning. Here's what you're gonna want to copy. Roll and pitch gains. Obviously there is no yaw, so this is irrelevant. But these are my roll and pitch gains. And if you watch my video series, you're gonna notice that this is just about exactly how I have my Atom RC Dolphin set up. Of course, I'll scroll down. Maybe I'll move my photo here so I'm not blocking anything. There we go. Rates and expos, all this good stuff. Copy this down. Filters. Mechanics, big one, 3 degrees is what it needs for level flight. And there we go. Back to our advanced tuning. I launch, so here we're at the advanced tuning tab, auto launch. These are my values. I am a firm believer of launching the thing at the highest possible value that you can, and then you can cut back from that. So what do I mean? So let's look at this idle throttle. 1000 is 0, meaning no throttle, and 2000 is max throttle, wide open, 100%. So idle throttle is at 1700. As I'm holding it in my hand, getting ready to launch, that is the throttle at which it's idling at. When I go to throw it, it goes up to 19, and that works perfect. If you run that ZOHD lithium ion pack, it takes every bit of this. I'd almost give it full beans, to be honest with you. 2000. Depends on how much stuff you put on it, how much your video system. If you have an extra camera like that Run Cam, just requires more and more power. But then from there you can taper it off every time you go out. Maybe drop this by 50 every time and see what works best for you. But this is what I use. I run a throttle delay, so when I arm throttle up, it takes 1 second for that motor to spool up. It just gives me a second to raise that and just hold that plane good. Rest of the features that you see here. coming over here to the other side, the fixed wing navigation settings. So if you use nav cruise, nav loiter, these are what I use for my settings. Return to home, I do a return to home with a linear descent. I always want it to come back. If I'm at, say, 400 feet elevation, which is the max, I want it to drop back down to that 200 whatever. I have it set at 9,143 centimeters. I think that's 250 feet, somewhere around there. I want it to come back down because if it's really up high, I won't be able to see it. And if I ever have an emergency where I lose my video, I'm just guessing. So I kind of get it down low enough. This clears trees, telephone poles, big, giant, tall electrical grid things, windmills, if you have those. I also have mine set to climb first and then return. That's how I do it. I feel like that's the best. And land after return to home, I have mine set as never. It'll sit there and hover and hover, and it'll sit there and do a circle the whole time. Hopefully I can always regain control. If not, that gives me time to prepare myself. Battery's going to eventually run out, and it's going to drop out of the sky. To each his own. All this stuff I think I've left standard stock. Programming, there's going to be nothing here. I don't program anything. My receiver setup is Crossfire. My modes are just arm, angle, horizon, manual, cruise, loiter, return to home, and the black box control 2 as well. No adjustments. Make sure your GPS is for navigation and telemetry. And this is my OSD setup. This is my personal preference. This is like, what's your favorite soda? There is no right answer. I like having the full-on fighter style, especially when I'm flying upside down. I got my my bearings, but this is pretty much my OSD setup. I have my speed. I have GP ground speed, 3D speed, my throttle position, my amps that I'm pulling, my altitude, and this is my if I'm ascending or descending value, if I'm going up or down, turn to home, battery voltage, satellites, your normal stuff. And that's it. So one more thing that I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and jump into what's called BLHELI. And this is going to be to program the ESC. This is just something in case you didn't know you could do this. Getting one of these little switches right here. These are pretty nice just for turning the plane on and off. Now to program the ESC through BLHELI, you got to have power to your ESC. So we're going to come down here. I'm going to make myself smaller. There we go. Hit connect. Then it comes to this blank screen. Connect power to your ESCs. Take your props off. If you're a wuss. Read setup. Here we go. Shows we got one ESC on this plane. If we had a twin engine plane, we would have 2 of these, just so you know. Here's where we can do a couple of things. Number 1, we can enable brake on stop. This allows us to belly land these planes without the props spinning and smashing up. So always make sure you go in and check that. This is our beep and beacon strength, and I am gonna turn my beacon strength up because that allows me to, this thing will start beeping once it doesn't have a receiver connected to it, or doesn't sense any movement. It's kind of like a homing beacon is what you would call it. And so we're gonna leave that there. This is your motor direction. So let's say you solder everything up and your motor is going the wrong way, or just going one way. It's going clockwise or anti-clockwise, and you want it to go the other direction. We would do that right here. Motor direction, normal or reversed. Pretty simple. So we're gonna go ahead and click right setup. Finished. We'll go ahead and disconnect. Connect again. Read the setup. We'll just verify, yep, everything's good. Turn my beacon strength up, and that's it. Disconnect. Alrighty, everyone. I think that concludes this. If you have any questions, post them up in the comments. If you kind of just go through this, take your time, this will be a piece of cake. Again, if you go down the descriptions, I'm going to have links to all the stuff that I talked about in this video. Again, as you're printing, print two things. You print it once. If it turns out perfect, print it again. Print it 3 times. Then you got backups. The other big thing with PLA that you have to remember is PLA, even PLA Plus, is not UV stable, I guess. It's gonna melt in the sun. And for that, if you live like, if it's summer months, it's July, and you got this thing out in the sun sitting in your car, it's a good chance that it could warp and distort. So my opinion, and from what I've read online, these 3D printed planes, this is a fall, winter, spring kind of plane, depending on where you live. If you live in the desert and it's always hot, I don't know what to tell you. Get a foamy. But that should cover it. So again, look in the description for the links. Go to the RC Groups forum page. Go over to Oliver's YouTube channel, subscribe and like his stuff. I mean, this guy did all this for free, which is very rare these days. So a true man of the RC people. So that's it. I'm Jeff. Thanks for watching this video, and more to come. We'll see ya. Bye.